Ladies and gentlemen, this is an urgent breaking news message. Many Zergs find themselves in ZvZ and they take Ling Bane and they mismanage it entirely. I'm not talking about micro, I'm talking about decision making of where you put the units. And I have the best replay ever for you. This is a replay that was played on Australia's server, which is evidence that I was unable to micro my units at all, but I still managed to win a Ling Bane only game. And I will show you the mysterious technique that your other opponents don't want you to know about, that most people between bronze and high masters do wrong. And this was even a GM player. So there's a weird drone block thing. We'll just disregard that. I end up going gas pull and then taking this base. And it more or less turns into a regular game. They're just trying to be obnoxious. So I'm getting my stuff. Gonna go Ling speed, gonna go queen. Gonna send a queen down here and make another queen in the main. And then I'll take this space. So it's kind of like this Zerg is a Protoss trapped in a Zerg's body, doing the pro block thing. So I'll respond to it similarly. The difference is I'm getting a Bane nest early. And then now the opponent's gonna start to put the pressure on. This is an advantage that they created from doing the drone block, which is my base is more forward and exposed than theirs. But it's not a huge deal because they lost a lot of mining time with that drone to do that. So I'm fine with this. Yeah, they kill a couple drones and even out the worker count, but they had to make earlier Lings than me to do that. And I have my bases injected. That's a really important step here. And they want to put the pressure on and attack me. They've got 24 workers. I'm making some Lings, so I'm going to take the front foot here. And if you're in a Ling Bane war, if you're Ling Bane against the opponent's Ling Bane, you should attack with your Lings, even if they're attacking you. So I'm sending units around here. I see Banes, and I'm just attacking with my Lings. Notice they're on the 4th control group hotkey. I have my Banes on a separate hotkey here. And then this is my main army hotkey where I have the 4 eggs. That's what I normally have as my army. I'm getting a spine here just to make my life a little bit easier. How awesome was this? We drove all the Banelings back home. The opponent took their entire army and ran back to their home base to go defend this. Even if your opponent attacks you with Ling Bane, you still attack them with Lings. The only adjustment you make is you defend with your Banes. So whenever I make units, I'm instantly stealing them to a separate group, and I'm putting them in my opponent's main, and I'm just sending Banes at my opponent, which forces a lot of micro out. The opponent wants to pressure me, so they're attacking this third again. And lo and behold, I just send more Lings into the base. Well, what if they had Banes on the ramp here? It's not a huge deal. That would be a 1 Bane for 4 Ling trade-ish, and then 1 Bane for 4 Ling trade. So you could say slightly bad trades, but it's not the end of the world, and it would still force them to have to remake this if they're making safety Banes. And you're dictating the pace of the match with aggression. And that's a really big part of what makes a strong Ling Bane player. Some of it is your fine-tuned control, but a lot of it is deciding, okay, snapshot of this game. We have even worker count more or less. I have a 1 queen advantage over them because I killed 1 queen. And I have less Lings and Banes than my opponent. But I win this game. How do I win this game? Now I'm behind in drones. How do I win this game? Decision making. The spine of my 3rd basically makes that a really inefficient target for my opponent to strike at. They could invest enough to kill the spine, but in that time, I can make Banes and stuff. The location of the spine being on this side of the base is intentional. Because there's a high ground right here where they could run Banelings down into this worker line, this spine has a chance to attack them sooner. So it can start attacking Banes when they're like right here. Instead of if I put the spine here, they can pretty much just ram Banes into the worker line. What am I doing? Oh my goodness, again. The Lings on the minimap, they're going way around the outside, while I'm defending with my Banes, and I'm binding my army to a new key. So when my opponent rushes in, I select my Baneling control group, and I just move command my Banes through there. That gets him to run away. And then my backstabbing group. This is ridiculous amounts of damage. We killed all the opponent's queens, and we only sent 13 Lings at them. Like 13 to 15 Lings. You don't need huge attacks. That's a big part of when people get blown up in StarCraft, is they have all their eggs, and they put them into one basket, and then there's a Baneling in the basket, and you lost all your eggs. That's what happens in Ling Bane wars for people. So take your Ling Bane, make a new basket. Take those 15 Lings, put them into a different control group, use the steal command so they get removed from your main army, and then just send them around on a backstabbing mission to your opponent's base. And then you get a lot of situations like this where the opponent wants to just bash in and kill me, but I'm saying, no, actually, you have to go and defend your bases. And I'll show you the camera situation for the two of us here, because this is a new fun thing that I've been trying to explore my understanding in StarCraft about, which is what is the camera efficiency in a situation for players? Because it's not just about who's trading resources better, who is trading the attentional resource better. How you're looking around at bases and stuff. And I would say I didn't really play this game that well mechanically, but I'm kind of jumping around. I double tap my Lings, and I decide I want to kill those two, because that'd be a huge pickup. Jump, jump. Jumping around my bases. I can split my stuff. I jump to the natural so I can transfer my drones there. From this point in the game, I would say I have a massive edge, because I have 3 queens and 3 bases against my opponent who has 1 queen and 3 bases. Let's look at their vision for that same time frame. 4:30 or so. Okay, 4:30. Opponent's vision. They want to go pedal to the metal. They're trying to kill my Banes, and they just want to drive forward and like bash into my base. So it's a very kind of one-dimensional approach of, I want to beat them up. And I think they double tapped a queen key to get back to that. So pretty efficient. Running the Banes in. Ling's getting in damage. I feel like their Lings should have right-clicked my queen and then the Banes protect their Lings. Would be a cool move there. Creating a larva advantage is huge in ZvZ for who gets ahead. If I play against a 6k Zerg in ZvZ, they usually just have some way of killing my queens and getting slightly ahead. And that means they can just produce more of whatever unit they're making. They keep spamming Lings though, and it puts yourself in a kind of dangerous situation when you do that, because they don't really have the drone economy to transition into Roach cleanly. They have 276 gas banked up on 22 drones. That's not a good economy to get into Roaches. You'd want to be getting like 30 to 35 workers, and then you're dropping the Roach in the Evo, and those should be placed here every time. It just makes a more narrow choke for Ling Bane to run into your base. And the more you spam Lings like this without upgrades, the greater the chance that you just run into a shit situation of, oh crap, I didn't account for 1 Bane and I took a ton of damage. And since they didn't leave any Banes at home, my Lings have just killed all their drones. So my opponent is down to 5 workers now. So they've effectively died. So yeah, that's really the key, is Ling Bane wars, defend with Banes, attack with Lings. If you attack with everything and you have no defense, you open yourself up to counterattack, so be aware of that. If you're the one who's getting attacked, that doesn't mean that you should be defensive necessarily with your Lings. Your Ling should pretty much always attack. Just run around the side of the map. That's one of the main things that you get when you purchase Metabolic Boost. A lot of times you forget the power of these just simple upgrades that people get every time. Metabolic boost means that suddenly you have the fastest ground unit in the game. And that's not something to be taken lightly. The Ling being so fast means that they're not quite as bound to needing to take the short rush path to get somewhere. The Lings don't have to run like from this base to get to here. They don't have to take this path. A Ling could go all the way around here, and it's still going to get there in a pretty reasonable time frame because the units are so heckin' fast. So boiling it down, Ling Bane Wars, attack with your Lings. Use the steal command, send them way to the side, send them into your opponent's base, especially if they're attacking you. That's usually one of the best times to attack your opponent, is when they want to be looking at your base. They want to be looking at this, they want to be making sure they're getting good offensive trades, and they want to be getting damage in your bases. But you say, no. No, actually, I'm attacking you. Actually, there are Lings in your base right now, and you should be going to defend that. Even though the Banes were sent up, we still get a ton of damage, and then that's basically game. I'll show you real quick where that is, if you don't know already. Hotkeys, global, control groups. I use the select. I unbound all the add and all the create. And I use these create and take away, the steal commands. Amazing for Ling Bane. I would say amazing for StarCraft in general, but especially for Ling Bane Wars, where you morph a couple Banes, you steal those to a Bane group. So you get those Banes out of the Ling group. They have very different specializations, very different jobs. They shouldn't be doing the same thing. Banes, terrible against queens. Ling surround, great against queens. Banes, great against drones. Banes are not so good against buildings if they're like patcheries and that kind of thing. So give it a try. Hopefully this was helpful for your ZvZ win rates.